Yo,
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Chev. I wasn't sure you're going to make it today, brother.
you know what? I wasn't sure I'm gonna make it either. I'm not doing too well, but I've been sleeping all day and sleeping yesterday, so I figured I got 1 hour to at least spend with you. And if people can't stand looking at me right now, you can at least close your eyes and listen.
You kind of got your Barry White thing going on tonight.
Yeah,
Sorry you're not feeling well. That was me. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, a week ago.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be hitting you pretty hard. I've had a bit of a crazy night myself. You know how we have folks, every time we do the show, we get our heads together a few hours before the show, make sure we got everything straight. We step in a pre-production meeting. I'm a big ritual guy just to make sure I'm prepared and ready to go. And literally about 48 seconds ago, as I was closing the door or running up for my cup of tea, my cat escaped. It ran outside. It's gone. And it's one of those things that I'm just going to have to wait and see if the song was right. Does the cat come back?
Does the cat come back? So I'm dealing with fever and strep throat and a Kermit the Frog voice. Thanks, Jamin. And you're dealing with your cat potentially gone. And here we are doing the show because the show must go on. So Sheldon, let's tell everyone what we got in store tonight.
Well, I mean, today's a big day, round one of the playoffs, of course. We've seen an elimination. Jamin, I'm so sorry. Vancouver, I don't know where Vancouver's at right now. You guys are going to have to keep us posted on that. But we're gonna take a look at what's been going on in round one of the playoffs, and we're going to specifically get into what is it that we can do at home as fans to tilt the scales of justice in our team's favor. Because
Can we do anything,
right?
Can we do anything?
We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Okay.
Other big news this week: we've seen a couple of drafts. We've seen the NFL draft this past weekend. That's always big. The spectacle that has become is incredible. Yep. Not quite the spectacle, but the CFL had their international draft. What do they call that? The
global draft.
The global draft for the globals, yep. And then they had the Canadian draft today. But then when we come back, we want to talk about a couple of movies that piqued our interest here in the last week. I don't know if we set them up now or if we talk about them a little bit later. But there's one movie from the 80s that I had my boys watch, which kind of deals with time travel. And it's kind of interesting to get their perspective on what they got right, what they got wrong. And the real interesting question is, what would happen to today's teens if they got dropped back 30 years in the future? I guess I kind of gave it away. It's Back to the Future.
Oh, I thought you watched this weekend. I thought it was going to be the Terminator. And I thought you were going to ask what would happen to today's teams if a shape-shifting Terminator from the future would come to hunt them. I think they'd be dead.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sheldon, let's just get the show going. Let's get the credits going. Let's get on with the ride.
Welcome back, everybody. Chevy,
I totally killed our intro. I'm killing it tonight. I'm killing our intro. I'm killing the show. You know what? Bring us in nicely, Sheldon. Bring us in smooth. Say hi to the sponsor, all that stuff.
You know what? Tonight on this episode 22, I can't believe it's episode 22 already. But once you cross 20, the next benchmark is until what? I don't know, 50, 100. Yeah, but I'm pretty excited about it. But I want to thank our sponsor, Performance Freight Management. These guys have been incredible. They've been with us for the last several episodes. Amazing company. These guys, if WestJet loses a wing mid-flight, because they do fly Boeing, it's Performance Freight Management that flies down to the wing factory and drives one up here for them. Amazing company, amazing guys, and big supporters of us. And also a big supporter of the event we have coming up on May 16th. 15th,
May 15th.
Now I'm killing it. It's contagious.
You got everything wrong there. How about I do this part? May 15th at the Cochrane Movie House. We're going to be hosting the Men's Mental Health Movie Night. Just a great event. It's a free event. We want to fill the theater. We're going to be doing a live Chevy and Nasty, I guess, fireside chat, as we call it. We've got Brett Gardner, who's a great Canadian Hall of Fame rodeo announcer as well as a performance coach. He'll be speaking, and he's amazing to listen to, talking about some mental health tips. And then we're going to be doing a private screening of The Fall Guy. Again, it's all free. It's at the Cochrane Movie House. We want you to join us. We got to get the link up there for the to register. You go to the Eventbrite, you register. It's all free. We just want to make sure we fill the theater, and that's May 15th. It's a Wednesday night. Please join us. We'd love to meet some of you in person. I think Sheldon mentioned that Craig Hannum, who we've had on the show a few weeks ago, and he also did our suicide prevention training on, I believe it was April 6th. Gosh, it seems long ago, but he is driving up from Washington to meet us, to join up, and to meet some of you, just to be part of the night. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I see Bender wants to come to do Fall Guy with us. John Bender, let's make sure we reach out to him. Of course, former Stampeder, Mr. Football in Calgary. You hear him all the time on all the football talk shows. Yeah, that'd be great. Guys, anybody out there in your network that you think this is going to be a good fit for, invite them down. We still have lots of tickets. We're over 50 seats taken already, but there's always room for more. And that, of course, is coming up May 15th.
I kind of like Jamin's compliment. He said that I'm more of a gamer than Austin Matthews was. I think I kind of am, especially in this situation. I've been, I guess to put a brief cap on it. So yesterday I was feeling terrible. I did Charles Schultz, he does the Edge of Greatness show on the NGBN network here. I did his show in the morning, and I was feeling terrible, like absolutely terrible. And I went to the doctor later on in the afternoon, and I basically, the doctor said, I can't tell you if you have strep right now. We're going to do a test for it, but I'm going to treat it like it is. So I've got some antibiotics, but I've been fevering. I hit 102.1 fever last night.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I've ever hit that in my life. I woke up this morning with 100 fever, and I've just been medicating all day, sleeping. I didn't even have the energy to watch TV today. There were some good hockey games on. I watched a little bit here and there, but couldn't even keep my eyes on the TV. In fact, the bright light from my screen light is killing me, but I did commit to doing the show. And like I said, I'm here, even though I might suck a little bit, but I'll be okay. Ruby asked what food will be at the Movie and Fireside Chat. I do believe we have Guy's Cafe in Cochrane that's going to be providing some of the snacks. There might be some wings, some different types of things. Plus, obviously, the movie snack that you love the most, Rubio, popcorn. And if you don't like movie theater popcorn, Rubio, you're weird. You're weird. And I think you don't like movie theater popcorn, Rubio, so you're weird. Sheldon, we want to talk about the playoffs. Last week, we got into it.
Are you getting ahead of yourself here, though, a little bit, Chev?
Oh, yeah, I totally am. I told you, my head's out of it. Yeah, I forgot. Not the playoffs. What are we doing? We're doing the poem. It's true. Look, everyone's got me confused. Okay.
Jenna, cue that music.
I did get ahead of myself, Sheldon, but I'll get back on track. It's all right. This might be a train wreck. Where else would you be on a late Tuesday night? We are the 300-pound pods, and our pants are just tight.
Chevy is sick. He's got either strep, Ebola, or just a fever, but we're going to let him rest. We were going to let him rest, but he is such an overachiever, Chev. You are, man. You got this.
I'm trying while I'm dying. A week into the NHL playoffs, and we are coming to the end of round one. Although they won tonight and kept themselves alive, the Leafs playoffs might soon be done.
Unfortunately, the Jets are done, to Winnipeg's dismay. The Avalanche were just too good, and their best actually came out to play.
We don't know who will win. We really don't have any Stanley Cup spoilers. But Canadians' best chance for a Stanley Cup may rest with the Edmonton Oilers.
We're Chevy and Nasty, one of us healthy and one sick. I promise Chevy that this week we'll try to keep the ride nice and quick.
We made it through the poem. My goodness. I almost forgot the poem, Sheldon. I almost forgot the poem, but you know what? We made it through. Rubio had asked what food is. Let's see what else. There's a couple of great comments coming in. And by the way, we want to thank you for joining us. Here's Daryl McAvina posting, Guys Cafe will have some amazing pre-ride food. Also real butter popcorn. You hear that, guys? You come to the show on May 15th. real butter, popcorn, and some great food. And Jenna just posted the link a little bit earlier on in the comments for the Eventbrite that you got to register to come. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, everyone. We do appreciate every Tuesday night, even for me who feels kind of crummy. Reading your comments make me happy. And now can we talk about NHL playoffs?
Yeah, where do you want to start?
Well, I think we want to start with the general overall feel of the playoffs right now. Last week, we spent a considerable amount of time talking about Canadian teams' chances in the playoffs. And right now, one of our teams was eliminated, the Winnipeg Jets, which is unfortunate for us. When I talked about Canadian teams last week, my top teams would have been Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Toronto. I watched the Leafs game tonight, and it was very funny because I told you, I think I texted you, I said, yeah, I'm watching the Leafs game. And you wrote back, I'm watching the Bruins game. And so did Jenna. And I'm like, well, I think there's a real dilemma because I want the Leafs to lose, but I hate the Bruins. So I don't know, like I lose either way. But the Leafs did stave off elimination tonight. And if they lose, Sheldon, it continues that streak, right? It continues that streak we talked about last week.
Yeah. Where is that at right now? I think we're somewhere around 31 years, 10 months, and I think 12 days. There, Jed is at 30 years, 10 months, and 12 days. We should really have a national countdown timer in downtown of each city in this country. But it's terrible. And the Leafs, I mean, you see round one, you can always see the teams that come out to play, right? Like even Winnipeg. I love the Jets. They were exciting to watch. They were hot going into the playoffs, but there's a difference between regular season hockey and playoffs, right? In the regular season, you have time and space. Your goal scorers can do what they do. You can break the will of your opponent with aggressive D, but in the playoffs, you've got to throw all of that away. And round one is where it really sorts that out. I look at the Kings and the Oilers, and Oilers are up 3-1. But the Kings are contesting them every step of the way.
Yeah.
And Kings have pretty good D, but they weren't the Winnipeg Jets. But you take a look at where the Jets are coming from. Colorado has been there before. They've won it in the last couple of years. Those guys know exactly the mode they have to get into. And it's been so frustrating. Jamin, I know you're a massive Jets fan. To watch a team just come out there and not show up is frustrating. Then you look at Vancouver. They lost their starting goalie.
They come out hot. Yeah, they come out hot, right?
But they come out and they play. They play Team D. They don't turn over the puck, and keep the. I think they've kept. I honestly haven't watched that series that tightly, but they're doing something right, and it's I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? When it's a completely different game when you get to this time of year.
Well, I think some teams are built for the playoffs and some teams are built for the regular season. And when you talk about time and space, you know what else you have time and space during the season for? To rest. And you don't have that in the playoffs. You got to bring it every second night, sometimes 2 in a row, depending on how the playoffs are structured. And some teams are really built for that. I thought, you know what? I didn't think, I thought the Leafs would be in the situation that they're in, down and fighting for their lives in the first round. They just don't seem to have all the pieces, right? They've got a couple of diva players that haven't necessarily done much in the playoffs, and they don't seem to have that it factor in the playoffs. It hasn't manifested as of yet with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. And Willie Nylander seems to be a scrapper, but they have a collection of stars, but they just don't have that chemistry. And you saw it come to a boil over the other night when they went down 3 games before they won tonight. But tonight they showed some scrap. They fought back. I mean, it was a 1-1 game. It was a 2-1 overtime win. It was kind of a boring game. I watched some of it, but they definitely did enough to get themselves back into it. And if they can kind of ride a bit of a wave going back into Toronto, who knows? But I was surprised that Winnipeg didn't do better. I was surprised that they're out so much earlier. But I have to say, Colorado is impressive.
Yeah.
Winnipeg did not fold the tent tonight. Colorado just shut them down. I mean, you look at that lineup, Lehkonen and Nathan McKinnon and
yeah.
Bart, like they were shutting them down. Anything that Winnipeg tried to do tonight, Colorado just shut them down. Period. Like there was nothing they could do to even create a chance on net. And you're right. Colorado won 2 years ago, and it looks like they're back on top. So, I thought that would have been a better series. I'm kind of disappointed it's over because I did really appreciate last week. We talked about the underdog story and how Winnipeg was being talked about across the United States with Pat McAfee and all that. And unfortunately, they're out early. But I am definitely keeping tabs of that Oilers Kings series and the Oilers in general. I feel that they are built. They just, you know what? I said it last week and I'll say it again. Watching Connor McDavid on the ice is like watching greatness. Whether you're an Oilers fan or not, you appreciate his greatness when he's on the ice. Absolutely.
Well, I've got that feeling like, growing up, when Gretzky was on the ice, you had to come down and watch, right? Even though I wasn't the biggest hockey fan growing up, my dad certainly was. And just a chance to watch Gretzky play. And it's the same thing in my house right now. My boys, when he's on the ice, my boys come down and watch. And now they're watching entire games. It's captured their imagination. But, the crazy thing, too, about playoff hockey is many stars is McDavid and Draisaitl, Hyman. It's been amazing. All these guys are stepping into the class of some of the great 1980s and 1990s Oilers players in terms of playoff goals. But LA is fighting them play for play, minute by minute. In fact, going into the last game, 5-on-5 play, they each had 10 goals. It was a tie, dead even series. The difference was penalties in that case, right? Penalties. Mm-hmm. They had a power play that's over 50%, which is unheard of over a 6-game, I guess a 5-game series. But you got to have something going right for you. But when I say something going right, I'm still a big believer that when you get into the playoffs, it's defense first. You've got to take away time and space, and you got to not have these stupid turnovers. And I think Winnipeg just couldn't deal with the speed. They couldn't get their act together. I think Vancouver's figuring it out.
Well, Vancouver's figuring it out. They lost tonight. Nashville keeps their hopes alive. Yeah, they lost tonight. The only team that's completed, I guess, a series sweep in the first round is the Rangers. They took care of Washington pretty quickly. Carolina just completed tonight. They beat the Islanders, so they're into the second round. We've got Florida, who defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning pretty quickly, and that was surprising to me because Tampa's been historically over the past 5 to 6 years one of the tougher teams, but Florida was coming on strong last year. Last year, Florida beat Boston and Toronto, both the favorites in the East, and they surprised all the way. I don't think they went to the did they go to the Cup Finals against the Golden Knights? I'm not too sure, but they definitely come on strong and they're into the second round. And so, right now you've got a few teams in the second round with some waiting in the wings. The Dallas Golden Knights series is interesting to me because, Dallas is the team, the favorite, but the Golden Knights have been there. They won the Cup last year. They kind of squeaked in this year. They had some issues, but, that's the team that I look at, like those teams that maybe not necessarily built for the regular season, but once the playoffs comes around, a team like that can go really deep. They've got some good pieces, and we'll see what happens. But Sheldon, I don't know. Like we're already at our first break.
I think we got to do it. We got to go.
Yeah. Well, let's just say hi to some people. We got Nana Mana that's showing up tonight. Daryl McAvee,
not an Oilers fan. I see. Nana Mona is not an Oilers fan.
We got Michael and Isabel Hunziger all the way down from New Zealand. We got Bruno's joining us, Jamin Rubio, and so many others. Thanks so much for joining us here on the ride. We're going to take a break. Again, Jenna flashed it. You can follow us on all our socials at Chevy and Nasty. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, there's so much more to talk about. We don't even know if we'll get to everything.
1 week after launching our exclusive sneak peek, NGBN TV was live for 3 days of continuous coverage from Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
NGBN TV is live from Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58.
The one-of-a-kind streaming TV network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s was the conversation for the big game about men's mental health in the world of athletes, celebrities, and influencers. or unnoticed. But we're just getting started with new partnerships announced like the Team Nike 3-on-3 Championship and new platforms available to download the NGBN TV app. So, what are you waiting for? Download the app today from your favorite streaming device or check us out at ngbn.tv. This is NGBN TV.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
And he's sitting down as we're coming back to air. You know what? It never fails. We'll always catch you in the middle of a break. Did we find the cat?
No, he's not back yet. Garage door's open. He'll come back when he's hungry.
And Michael and Isabel Hunsiger, they asked, is this the new Bearded Boys show? Yeah, we're both kind of scruffy, but for me, it's more of a function of the fact that I've been laying in bed for the last 2 days. Normally for work, I have to shave every day. In uniform with the fire department, I have to shave, but I wasn't able to work. I actually attended
that's 2 days growth. Holy cow, dude.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Well, this is the weekend because
it
was the weekend because Friday I didn't work on Friday. I had a Friday and Monday off, so I started growing my beard as of Thursday. So this is a few days, but yeah, normally I shave on either a Monday or Tuesday when my first day back to work. But like I said, I've been laying in bed, so yeah, we're the Bearded Boys. We're the Bearded Boys. Welcome back to the ride with Chevy and Nasty. I'm going to try and pick up my energy. I do apologize. If you're just joining us, I'm a little bit under the weather, and I just apologize to Sheldon via text for saying that I was crappy in the first segment. I'm going to bring it in the second segment. We're live every Tuesday from 11 p.m. to midnight, right here on the NGBN.TV network. To give a little pub, the network for men in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And we talk about mental health. We talk about men's health and all those other things. And we want to make sure that you know that when we show up on Tuesday, we show up not just because we love doing the show. We show up for you, for all of you that are out there, and we want you to spread the word. So if you like our show, please like and subscribe and spread the word. Let your friends know. And a great way to let your friends know about us is to invite some of them to our men's mental health movie night on May 15th. That would be really cool to meet all of you and say hello, because it's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to that, Sheldon. We did a few live episodes when we did the old Chevy and Nasty show at the Fan 960. We used to do them at Nick's Steakhouse and Monty's Crab Shack. We always had some friends out. We always had some fun, and I'm looking forward to that energy again.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So where do you want to go? We had a whole segment planned.
Travis Kelce gets a new deal. I didn't even know he's up for a contract.
Well, yeah, I guess. So what they did with the Chiefs, let's just touch on it briefly. Travis Kelce signs a record-breaking deal, the highest paid tight end in the NFL, $34.3 million. Basically, he was scheduled to make $30.2 million over the next 2 years. They replaced it. They replaced it with a $34.3 million deal. So I guess he got a $2 million a year raise. Not groundbreaking, but still pretty groundbreaking because, it adds to his number and makes him the highest paid tight end, and really good for him at his age, right?
Yeah, I for sure. And I think I'm not perfectly clear on this, but I think they even topped up his last 2 years. Is that what you understand?
Well, they replaced his 2 years. So his last 2 years of his deal, they basically added $2 million a year,
just probably to make sure he was the highest paid tight end.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like clearly, at some point, the performance and the speed goes down. But if you look at him in the last playoffs, I mean, this guy is the real deal. He's the workhorse. I'm not sure they're the same team without him, which is not like a a huge statement to say. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the NFL. He's broken Jerry Rice's playoff reception records. I mean, the guy's a stud. Was it necessary? I guess it's just a sign of respect, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think they want to keep him happy. And when you keep him happy, you keep Pat Mahomes happy. The reason they won that Super Bowl this year is because they decided to give him the ball and he started making some big time plays, and then it opened everything up for the rest of the team, whether it was Pacheco getting the ball or Mahomes running it downfield. But it started with getting Kelce going. And when Kelce got going, it opened everything up. And I think they recognized that this is a guy that can do this for another couple of years at the highest level, and he gives them the best chance to be back where they were. What do we got? AC says we're due for some overtime. I don't know if it's going to happen tonight, brother.
Jenna says Kelce should be giving that extra $2 million to T Swift. What's Taylor Swift going to do with $2 million? I mean, from her standpoint, I could see I'd be celebrating coming home, talking about the respect and the money and what I'd be doing with it. And she's like, "Oh, that's cute." She makes that in a weekend. She'll do that in 2 shows, right?
She makes selling T-shirts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So from Travis Kelce to the NFL draft, draft this weekend, Sheldon. It was interesting. I didn't follow it too closely, but what I did follow and what I wanted to get to the most was the story that kind of took everyone by storm. The Atlanta Falcons in the draft took quarterback Michael Penix Jr., probably one of the best quarterback prospects. It was a quarterback deep first round. I think 6 quarterbacks went in the first round. A few of them went before Penix, but with the 8th pick, the Falcons selected Michael Penix Jr. Now, in a draft, teams take the best players, and that's kind of a given. And if this guy was the best player, that was a given. But the problem with this is that Atlanta just signed Kirk Cousins as a free agent from the Minnesota Vikings, signed him to a guaranteed $100 million contract. Do you see a controversy there? Do you see, or is this kind of just good business?
Good business. There's so many, dude. It sends such the wrong signal. Put yourself in those shoes. Hey, here's $100 million. You're our guy, kinda, right? Like there's that is definitely a sign that there's not a huge amount of belief, or they're working on a backup plan. What they could have done, I mean, if you think about it, in a draft that was so rich in there's a lot of good wide receivers there as well. They could have traded down. What could you have gotten by trading down the number 6 pick? You could have probably picked up a very solid veteran backup quarterback. They're out there, right? You can lodge them loose with a 6th round pick. You could have found yourself another offensive weapon. I can't wrap my head around this thing. And the whole thing about, you got to take the best player who's out there. I'm sorry. It's such a crapshoot. You're telling me that the 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first 14 spots are all going to be the next big thing in the NFL for quarterback. No, I think everybody's gotten quarterback crazy because they've seen a few guys have success early in their careers, and everybody's excited about the next shiny thing. You just signed him.
Yeah.
And now you're telling them that we're signing your replacement. I don't get it.
And he's been dealing with that in his career. Like, he was kind of the underdog when he was with Washington, and they never gave him the respect he was due. And then he left Washington to go to Minnesota, and same sort of thing. And I thought he had a home in Minnesota, right? Like he was one of the stars of the quarterback show. He had a pretty good season last year. And he moved on, and you know what? Moved on for more money, greener pasture. And, I just think, and I kind of wrote this on Twitter the other day. I said, I think Kirk Cousins is going to make hundreds of millions of dollars of guaranteed money over the next few years, just signing with different teams, because I can't see him sticking around. Maybe it'll be, what the problem is, it's not even a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers thing. It's not even an Aaron Rodgers love situation, because he hasn't even been there with the team. He doesn't even know his teammates. I see quarterback controversy starting before the season, before training camp even begins. Like, They just brought him in for $180 million. They signed him maybe 2 months before the young cat. And he doesn't know the team any better than the young guy does. So they're both kind of starting on the same. Now, if you're thinking about the future, who are you going to give it to? Like, who are you going to give the most reps to? If you're a head coach and you're like, both guys are starting from ground zero, they both don't know the team. They don't know the receivers. They don't know the system. You know, Kirk Cousins has maybe a month ahead of him, head start. That's all he's got in the organization. Why would you go to Kirk? The only reason you go to him is because you paid him $100 million, and that's stupid.
That is stupid. Like, I can't figure that out. The general manager, you just replaced the same commodity. And it's not like you're going to, like, what's a sixth pick of the draft guy get paid? What's the signing bonus? You're tying up an awful lot of cap space on that as well. Chev, I don't get it. There was so many other options. Trading down, I think, would have been the natural one. You would have gotten way more return for it. Or go out there and find a weapon for the guy that you just committed $100 million to.
Or just not signing Kirk Cousins in the offseason. They knew their draft standing. Yeah. They knew there were 6 quarterbacks in the draft. If you go back to the draft, let me just pull this up here. If you go to the draft, in the quarterback position, okay, there was Caleb Williams, who we all knew was going to go to the first overall to Chicago Bears. There's really no surprise. The only thing that was surprised, people thought, well, Caleb Williams was a bit of a weirdo. Coming out of college, they said that he was wanting to ownership stake in the team, and he almost became a distraction. But then you go to Jaden Daniels, LSU. You go Drake May, went to New England Patriots. So first 3 picks, quarterbacks. Then you got a wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr., son of the great Marvin Harrison. Joe Alt went to the Chargers. Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, and Michael Penix. And then after Michael Penix was J.J. McCarthy, who was a quarterback from Michigan, who's a pretty damn good quarterback himself. And then further down, you had Bo Nix, who's a quarterback for Oregon. There were 6 great quarterbacks that any one of them could have fallen with Atlanta. Atlanta should have just kept what they had and waited to see what they get in the draft, right? So I just don't know how it's going to play off. It doesn't look like it's going to be good for them. So I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. But the draft is exciting for many reasons. I will say 4 Canadians got drafted this year. So Isaiah Adams from Illinois was selected in the 3rd round. Theo Johnson from Penn State, tight end from Ontario, was selected. Giovanni Manu from UBC was selected in the 4th round, and Tanner McLaughlin. Yeah. So a U Sport guy. Two UBC, University of British Columbia, players were slated to go in the draft. Manu was selected by the Detroit Lions, and then his tackle mate Theo Benedict, University of British Columbia, he signed as a free agent to the Chicago Bears. Other Canadians in the draft, Kyle Hergel went from Boston College, went to New Orleans Saints. Anim Dankwa from Howard University went to the Eagles, and Casey Bonham from Augustana went to the Los Angeles Chargers. So a couple of draft picks and a couple of free agents, which was pretty cool. Like, you know what? It was very nostalgic for me this weekend watching the NFL draft, because I did go through that process many years ago. And
you were drafted, right? Like you did. Yeah. You were drafted to the NFL.
Yeah, so I was drafted in the 7th round. In those days, there was only 7th rounds, and there's still only 7 rounds, but it only played out over 2 days. It was a Saturday and a Sunday affair, not like the whole Thursday through Sunday affair. But yeah, I was drafted in the 7th round in 2001 by the Jaguars. I believe it was the 211th pick or 217th pick. I can't remember the number, but yeah, it was pretty astounding when it had happened for me. Again, that was in the time you talk about in our intro, talking about Back to the Future, but that was in a time where there was no internet, no social media, and no Twitter, no huddle, no way to get people your link. And somehow things fell into place that I was able to get on NFL teams' radars and eventually signed. And that was pretty cool.
So what was that like then? How did you find out? Was it a phone call that came in first? Did your agent call you? Like how did you find out?
Yeah, so the process for me went back to when I went to the East West Shrine game to play in a U.S. College All-Star game, being one of the 2 Canadians selected there. And I was long snapping and playing D tackle that game, and I played really well as a defensive tackle. But the long snapping is what kind of put me on people's radar, because they're like, wow, this guy can play a position and long snap. And in those days, they never invited long snappers to U.S. College All-Star games. And, you know, most guys in the States, as Rubio can tell you, if they're a long snapper, that's all they do. So it was kind of different for them to see this guy that could do 2 things. And it instantly put me on the radar. And after that, the Indianapolis Colts came up to McGill. They worked me out. And when they worked me out, it kind of went on this, I guess, this wire, this NFL wire where they have to declare their moves. And from there, I got a couple of teams that flew me out to visit, the Green Bay Packers and the Vikings. And then from there, draft day was, you know, I knew that people were interested. I didn't know who, but I knew that some teams were interested. And
so you weren't at the combines.
No, I did the CFL combine. I did the CFL combine, but not the NFL one. Yeah. And I had what people would call a pro day. It was actually a private workout. The workout that I had with the Colts, they had to declare that. I guess there's a registry where they have to say, hey, we're working out this guy. And so my numbers were registered and all that. And that's really what put me on people's radars. But I didn't know who was interested. It's not like anyone called me before the draft to say, hey, we're interested in you. And it was funny because I always say the story. I locked myself into my sister's bedroom. She was the only person in our house that had a PC computer in those days. And if you recall, we had the dial-up internet where if you got on the internet, it took your phone line.
Wait, what year did you get drafted?
2001.
And you had dial-up internet in Montreal?
Yeah.
Where were you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was dial-up internet. And I just remember I dialed up the internet to refresh the ESPN page, that, you know, very simple page with just like the number and the draft standings. And I just want to see where they were and if my name had been called. And, you know, I would refresh the page and then I'd instantly log off so I could keep the phone line open. Anyhow, between logging on, I got a phone call from the Jaguars, and it was Tom Coughlin who called me up. And he asked me one question. He said, hey, are you healthy? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, we're about to draft you. And that was it. That was it. And 3 days later, I was in Jacksonville. Go ahead.
Well, at least they did their due diligence on you. Hey, Chev, you healthy? Yeah, coach, I'm good. Okay, we're signing you.
Well, but that's pretty much how it went down. And it wasn't like the whole, you know, you see now everyone has these watch parties and these draft parties. I was literally locked in my room. My family didn't really know much about my football experience. Like, they supported it, you know, but they came on late. You know, my mom, she's an immigrant from Italy. She didn't know much about sports. And, you know, my dad was kind of in and out, but no one really knew what I was preparing for. I was training really hard, and I kind of did it all by myself. And even on draft day, I just asked for some privacy, and I was in the room and I was just waiting, because although I really wanted it to happen, I wasn't sure it was going to happen. So it wasn't like now that, you know, with social media, everybody puts everything everywhere. There was none of that. It was just,
I'm surprised your agent didn't call you but I guess they called you directly, right? So
they call me directly. Yeah. So it was no pomp and circumstance. It was just me in a room waiting for a phone call. And that's what it was. And I'll tell you what's funny is, you know, I was so excited, and I had gone through some stuff to get to that point. But it was so funny because, you know, I get to Jacksonville on the Wednesday, and we're at our first, I guess, mini camp meeting. And the first thing I remember, Frank Gans, who was a great special teams coach in the NFL, first thing he walks in, he says, "Welcome to the NFL, men. From this day forward, we're trying to replace you." That was the first speech.
Ain't that the truth?
And I'll never forget that. I will never forget that. That's what kind of kept me, I guess it etched into my brain, and it kept me going for all the years I did, right? That they're always trying to replace you. So for every guy that got drafted this week in the NFL, you got to understand that this is just the beginning. It's not the end of the journey, or the end of the work.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Yeah. The work starts now. when you get something, people want it. And whether it's the NFL draft, or the CFL draft, which took place tonight, if you get an opportunity to play professional sport at any level, there's always someone that wants your job. There's always someone and they're always looking for someone to take your job, right? That's how it is. And yeah, we
and
the NFL draft,
and it really doesn't matter where you get drafted. Your draft is by how healthy you were at the end of your career, how you tested in the combines, what school, what program, and your stats. But even your senior year stats don't always translate into what you're going to do in the NFL. There's always late bloomers and guys that come on that you don't see coming. And so I think that is the number one message you say to a guy. It doesn't matter if you're second round, third round, seventh round, late signed free agent.
Well, you would have been a case like that, right? You would have been even in the CFL because you had an injury in college that kind of prevented you from
my junior year. Yeah, my junior year, my pec was completely ripped off, and then my senior year, I had 2 knee injuries. I completely fell off of everybody's radar, right? And
not just the NFL radar, but you fell off even the CFL radar, right?
Yeah, CFL. I went to a pretty big school, but I didn't go to the combines, right? Because I was recovering. I couldn't go to the combines. But we followed along. I think I ended up going 28th or something like that in the CFL draft, or 33rd. Right. I think it was like late 3rd round, beginning 4th round. I found out because my dad was on internet. I think Saskatchewan wasn't on dial-up at that time. Might have been though, because it was probably 98 or 99, 98, 97. Oh, 97. I don't know. Geez, I'm old. And then, get a call from Ron, the legendary Ron Lancaster. And, for me being a Saskatchewan guy, I was like, I wasn't crazy about going to Edmonton, except they're an amazing program. I was excited just to get a call from Ron Lancaster, the legendary Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterback. And that's how it started for me. But at the same time, I always knew in my head that I wasn't limited to anything. I went into the career with the approach that just get me a tryout, and I'm going to make it somewhere, right? And for me, it took a little bit like yourself. It took a little bit of the long road to get really established. You were more jumping between NFL and CFL, but you know what? The cream rises to the top, and then those that are willing to stick it out and work, there's a path forward. But I didn't have the exciting draft story. I didn't have, that moment walking down the aisle, with Jerry Maguire at my side, but it was cool. I'm happy with what happened. And it's actually, I'm kind of thrilled to hear your story. But when we come back, Chev, I think we are going to have to go to break here. When we come back, why don't we take a look at a few of the other guys throughout their careers that might not have been drafted as the elites, and maybe nobody expected anything from them at all, because there has been a handful of notable absolutely draft gems that went in later rounds. Guys, with that, I think we are going to go to break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more NFL, and then I think we're going to dive into the Back to the Future. Take a look at the past, make a few predictions for the future, and we'll see where this ride takes us.
1 week after launching our exclusive sneak peek, NGBN TV was live for 3 days of continuous coverage from Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
NGBN TV is live from Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58.
The one-of-a-kind streaming TV network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s was the conversation for the big game about men's mental health. In the world of athletes, celebrities, and influencers, we're on notice. But we're just getting started with new partnerships announced like the Team Nike 3on3 Championship and new platforms available to download the NGBN TV app. So, what are you waiting for? Download the app today from your favorite streaming device or check us out at ngbn.tv. This is NGBN TV.
back. It goes fast, hey?
It does go fast. And I was just texting you this time, my turn to apologize. What a horrible transition. I completely got lost. And I just babbled for 2 minutes there for y'all. But
no, I just saw that, and you called me too. Sorry, I was just kind of looking up some of the stuff we were talking before the break. And for those of you with us, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday night ride with Chevy and Nasty here on the NGBN network, brought to you by Performance Freight Management and WeDrone. We thank you for joining us. We were talking about the draft. We talked about the NFL draft, what happened this week, really what happened in Atlanta, and some of the other moves there. CFL draft happened tonight. Just so you know, the Canadian Football League draft went today, and the number one pick in the Canadian Football League went to the Edmonton Elk, and it was Joel DeBlanco from the University of Cincinnati. Now, the interesting thing with this pick, Sheldon, is that Joel finished university in 2022. He actually spent time with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know, maybe Rubio might know the name Joel DeBlanco. And then he played in the USFL. So he already has some pro experience, but somehow because of draft rules, maybe he just found out he was Canadian. He became draft eligible and moved all the way to the top of the list. So Joel DeBlanco, congratulations. He's going to start his CFL career with the Edmonton Elks. He was clearly the best prospect in the draft. And then, a bunch of other guys, the CFL draft doesn't have a lot of pomp and circumstance, as we mentioned. Even me, when I got drafted, I was coming off the field in Jacksonville between 2-a-days at minicamp, and one of the PR guys or the media guys said, "Hey, you've got to do an interview with Edmonton radio. You just got drafted by the Eskimos." I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, that's cool." And yeah, I believe I was drafted 5th overall or something like that in the first round of the 2001 draft. But yeah, I was, and the CFL does have their draft after the NFL draft for that very reason, to see which Canadians will be drafted in the NFL, and then that might sway their decision to take or not take a guy, right?
yeah.
But we left the last segment talking about guys who are late round NFL draft picks, late round picks who made a significant impact. And I don't think there's any guy greater than the great Tom Brady, right? Drafted in, I believe it was the 7th round in the 2000 draft. So the year before I got drafted, he was drafted in the 2000 draft. And I mean, what can you say about that guy? Just the greatest, the greatest. Is he the greatest of all time? Would you say?
Well, I don't think there's any question, right? There's he's up there with Gretzky and probably beyond Jordan. I mean, what he's done and the length of his career and the late championships he's had, I don't think you even question it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? 7 rings? How many did he win? Seven.
Yeah, 7.
7 Super Bowls. The most impressive being the one that he won last with Tampa Bay, when he took the Tom Brady show, went to Tampa, brought in his buddy Gronk, and turned the franchise around. Like, really, I believe he did something that no athlete had ever done.
See, and that's
go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy to me about, like, I get it was a quarterback rich draft, but to see 6 quarterbacks go in the first round, like, how do you know? And some guys, some guys pan out at some level where they become serviceable or they become backups or whatever. But you go down that path of quarterbacks. I mean, obviously Brock Purdy is the next guy that's got to come to mind. He's the next, the most recent quarterback that, last guy in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant.
Well, he was the last guy in the draft. Absolutely. Then
you look at Kurt Warner, right? I think he was later down there as well. But, just a few weeks ago, we had on our good friend, Jeff Garcia. He was undrafted.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted him.
Well, this year, Sheldon, I just looked at the draft stats, because we know that there's going to be some late draft pick. Not necessarily a quarterback not necessarily a quarterback, but that becomes a star. Like, I'm just looking right here. So we said there were 6 quarterbacks picked in the first round. Now, although there's so much hype and so much money gets put down on these guys, so many times these guys become a bust. But there is one guy or two guys that are going to show up in those late rounds that are going to absolutely kill it. And doesn't matter how stacked against them the odds are, somehow they're going to rise to the top. So in the 6th round, I think this is the last quarterback taken. There's Devin Leary, quarterback from Kentucky, taken by the Baltimore Ravens. So maybe it's going to be Devin Leary, or maybe let's see the next highest quarterback. Gosh, there's not too many taken. Maybe the New England Patriots, Joe Milton, who was taken in the 6th round. Maybe he's going to get a chance to shine. Or maybe, let's see who else. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's Jordan Travis for the New York Jets, who was picked in the 5th round. I don't know. Maybe one of those guys is going to do better.
James just writes in Tyreek Hill is a 5th rounder. Like at this point, at that point, it's really up to you. Once you're on that roster, there is such thing as late bloomers or guys that put together the mental game later on in their career. The guys that have their aha moment because they worked with that offensive coordinator or that defensive coordinator or got on the same page with a quarterback. There's still tons of room, and that's kind of what's fun to look back and see some of those guys, right?
Well, like I was going to say, some of the best late round draft picks. You're talking about Tom Brady is one, and we all know Tom Brady, right?
Yeah,
he had to unseat Drew Bledsoe, but Terrell Davis, the great running back for the Denver Broncos, he was a 6th round pick, 196 overall. Shannon Sharp, I mean, a great announcer, right? He was a 7th round pick.
Shannon Sharp was. Wow.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, the cornerback for the Seattle Seahawks during the Legion of Boom. He was a 5th round pick. Antonio Brown, he's kind of crazy, but he was a 6th round pick. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that were late round picks that kind of come out. Julian Edelman, I believe, was a 7th round pick. And I mean, he was a quarterback in college, turned to receiver. So a lot of these guys can do it. Rubio asked a great question. If we were going to build a team from scratch, besides long snapper, what would you pick first? What position would you pick for first?
Well, you already called the obvious one in long snapper because you can't transition without a long snapper or a long snapper, as they pronounce it, I think, in Idaho. Mm-hmm. It does. 100% it starts with your quarterback, right? It 100% starts with your quarterback. You have to have a guy who's smart, can move the ball and make good decisions. Otherwise, you're turning the ball over all game long. But after your quarterback, I'm still a big believer in you can't do anything with a quarterback unless you can protect him and unless you can buy him options on first down. So the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have a serviceable line and a very solid offensive tackle or very solid side to that line that if nothing else, I can do one thing well, whether it's running that direction, sprinting out, rolling out, or just knowing the backside is protected.
I need a good running back. Good running back. Get us in the 2nd and short. Get us in the 3rd and short. Just a good running back and create a good, solid power running game so that our quarterback isn't put in a position where he has to win the games because you don't know what you're going to get if you're picking in the early rounds for a quarterback. We've seen so many busts in the draft in quarterbacks that it's just so unpredictable. So I'm taking someone that I know can run with the ball. Doesn't matter where he is. Usually a running back that's a 1st rounder usually pans out. I'm looking for a running back. But I was going to say, so we talk about movies and I know we should move along here, but I watched a movie. We're talking about Tom Brady. I watched the movie 80 for Brady. And it's a movie about the 4 ladies. They come together because one of them had cancer, and they come together because of their mutual love of Tom Brady from the year that he took over from Drew Bledsoe. And it just kind of their friendship and their tradition evolved from there, that they just kept watching him. And I guess the story goes that they were making a run to go watch the Super Bowl. Fictional tale based on a true story. These ladies do exist that kind of have this love for Tom Brady, but what a good little film. And it culminates in one of the greatest Super Bowls that I ever witnessed, Super Bowl in which Brady made the comeback against the Falcons, where they were down at 28-3 in the 3rd quarter, and they come back and win in overtime. And it's funny because that game all by itself had so much drama, but when you add the element of the story, it was actually really good. I really enjoyed watching that story the other day, and it kind of puts a nice little cap to this Tom Brady talk. But I know we got like 2 minutes left, Sheldon.
You know what? So that gives us 2 options. I'm fine. I don't think we can do Back to the Future justice in 2 minutes. So I'm going to put it out to all of you guys here right now. I want you to think a little bit. This is your homework assignment for the week. Think about what Back to the Future got right. Thinking Back to the Future Part 2 specifically, what they got wrong, what was a complete miss. Would our teenagers today, our grade 12 students, survive in that world? And then let's think about projecting out into the future. Like, honestly, put some thought in this. What is 2054 going to look like? Are we going to finally have flying cars? Right? And to me, that's the big one. I'm still waiting for the flying car. Give me a damn flying car, and I'll say I've lived my life long enough to see what I wanted to see. And maybe a jetpack.
I'm just waiting for the floating skateboard. I know they call those little stupid things that the kids ride around hoverboards, the ones with the wheels, but those aren't real hoverboards.
No, like, but Chef, check this out. I Googled it today. They're called Hondo boards, and they came out in 2016. They ride on an electromagnetic field. Tony Hawk, I've seen him riding on it. Some guys are calling it a scam, but I saw it on YouTube, so it has to be real. That they actually had these electromagnetic boards that you could actually hover from. I have no idea if you need a surface below it. I have no idea if you're going to get foot cancer from riding on one of these things.
Sheldon, we're about to get out.
Take us out, buddy. Chevy. Take us out.
Listen, guys, that's all the time we have for today. We didn't get to our Back to the Future talk, but you know what? That's going to be leftovers for another segment. We appreciate that you all take the time to join us. We're going to be back next week. It's Sheldon. It's Chevy. We're here on the ride with Chevy and Nasty, and we love coming every week, and we love seeing you here. We'll see you next week.